Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever in the world you are watching this. And we are back. It is 2024, and we are ready for more. Adam Pearson with Martin, Duncan, and now Chandy here to lead you through a cavalcade of disability, discussion, and dogmatic nonsense. Let's begin with our news segment. What's in the news? We've all taken a crazy news story from this week, and we're going to read it to the others and talk about it. Duncan, what do you have for us in the news?
Well, in honor of our good friend Chris, who's missing in action at the moment, I read the most amazing article today about a mouse. He's a nature enthusiast and he films loads of nature. He's like 75 years old. And he's got a box in his shed that he put with some like nuts and stuff in there, and they'd all gone. And he was like, that's odd. And then he found that things were being put in the box overnight. And he set up his camera to film. And there's a mouse that's actually tidying his shed. You can see the footage in a second. I'll put it up now. And this mouse is actually picking bits up from his shed and tidying them away in his box for him. And I just couldn't, I was in hysterics watching this, because it's just, how many mice has Chris killed now? How many deaths is he responsible for in the rodent world? And what is he preventing? Like,
what it tells me is that because of the amount of mice that Chris has killed, really, like, no wonder the world's in a mess, because if he kept them all alive, at least it'd be a lot tidier.
Exactly that.
He's taken out a whole cleaning company.
I'd like to see that advertised. The rodent.
I just love the fact that the mouse has strutted into this guy's shed and went, do you know what? This will not do. Just need. And do you know what it takes me back to? Do you remember Cinderella now, because she cleans and then the mice help Cinderella clean? It's like Gus helps her clean. Just wants to be one of the mice.
I just like the mouse has got in and got, this just won't do.
This
No.
That's my duster.
Like a rodent Kimwood van, just going and going, oh, no, darling, no. Oh, very, very good choice, Duncan. Candy, what's in the news?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I had to just Google this quickly before we started recording.
This is his first episode and he's already showing disturbing signs of apathy in this.
I'm lastminute.com, okay?
Go on, give us that story that you've just fucking pulled out your ass.
Right. So the title is Florida Man Sues Dunkin' Donuts over injuries following toilet explosion.
You should have said it's just Dunkin'. Should have said it's just Dunkin'. Good on to donuts. It's just Dunkin'.
I have been responsible for a toilet explosion before. I got a man fired from his job.
That's what I mean.
The first paragraph is he's seeking $100,000 in a lawsuit filed on Wednesday in the state of Colorado, and after suffering severe and long-term injuries following the explosion of a toilet in the men's room of a Dunkin' Donuts location in Winter Park, Florida, a year ago.
What happened to the toilet?
Okay.
What is the definition of an exploding toilet?
And what were his injuries? Like that's what I want to know. Like how severe was this on like a scale of like 1 to 10? 1 being fired from cinema and 10 being like dead.
It says that after the explosion, he was left with human feces, urine, and debris all over his face, and he was covered in it.
What was he doing in the toilet? Was he throwing up?
I have no idea. I don't really want to scroll any further because I'm scared employee was told that there was a problem with the toilet. So yeah, it just seems like a lovely news story.
It reminds me of there was a bloke in Australia. He come home. His wife had found a spider and she managed to get it into the toilet and then sprayed like an entire can of Raid into the toilet and shut the lid. And he come home and got trotted up to the bog, sat down, he's lit up a cigarette, he's reading his paper while he's on the toilet, finished his cigarette and he's flicked it into the toilet with a can of Raid that has exploded beneath him. That wasn't the funny part. It was that the paramedics came and he's trying to tell them the story as they're stretchering him down the stairway.
Aye, on his
And
front.
once he'd explained it, they burst out laughing and dropped him.
His line frontways on the stretcher when they're taking him out because his arse is fucking into a million pieces.
Oh wow! Already, I'm regretting a new segment already.
I'll be honest with you, Shandy, that story that you've given us definitely got holes in it. It's not that strong. Way.
Hey, yeah, I love Duncan. The donuts. Martin, what's in the news?
Well, this is one I'm just going to read it off. Remote Island offers someone £11.44 an hour if you're prepared to live and work there. Now, this island is like secluded between like England and Wales somewhere. It's proper got Elon Musk up to Mars vibes, this. Right? It's got Elon Musk up to Mars vibes. Basically, like, it's all done through a trust and applications from two individuals, and they're expected to live and work together on the island, which has limited electricity. Like, I'm just going to read a little bit down this because the job advert, people have got, it's in North Wales, right? And you can enjoy some benefits, including like a boat trip, which sounds pretty grim to the mainland. That, and it will include shared food and growing space and internet connection. Thank Christ for that. The island is like it's a beautiful island. But it's they need to live and work together. £11.44, and the contract lasts from the 1st of March until the 30th of October. Now it's got limited electricity. This place. It's only powered by solar panels and can run a light, fridge, and freezer internet router, and that's it. Right in your toilet. It's outside. It's a composting toilet. Right, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, I just think I'm in such two minds with this story because I'm like, first of all, like, who would actually do that? And
the Unabomber. That's the only person who's applying for that job.
And then secondly, I think, oh, that could be actually quite fun for a couple of months, like just to get away.
What's the wheelchair access like?
Yeah, have you got ramps? Have you got a red pod? If you've got a red pod, I'll be fine.
I don't want to be this guy. What did you say the hourly rate was?
It's £11.44. What an absolute fucking
that's minimum wage. That's the UK minimum wage.
But where are you going to spend it? The whole lot's getting saved, isn't it?
Let's just get this straight. £11.44.
Hey, you.
March to October. For 6 months, you will be getting paid minimum wage to live in an island with no electricity, with a compost toilet, with someone else you probably won't like, with no ramps, no red cards.
I'm not going to lie, though. This does sound like some uni accommodation.
Right?
That's right. It's sponsored by 2-minute noodles. That's your diet for a year.
It's in between, like, uni accommodation and homelessness.
Then, like, this is what it says at the bottom of the article. This is what it says: the ability to speak both English and Welsh is compulsory with a driving qualification. So they're expecting somebody who's able to speak 2 languages to be able to drive to get paid £11.44 to live in this fucking godforsaken island.
Wow. It's like a really low budget remake of the show Lost.
It's got a little bit of like Lost, a little bit of The Shining in there. It's got a little bit of
it's that thing, isn't it, when you turn up and there's the guy you're spending the next 6 months with perched on the end of the bed, like.
I bet it's that old guy and his mouse.
It's just 2 of you. Why do you need to speak Welsh?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I just get the impression there's someone who likes to read between the lines. There's something dodgy going on here, like there's something massively dodgy. So it's on Sky News, so it's legit.
Oh, wow. So an application form, email Heisenberg at gmail.com.
Can either one of us fill in the application form just to see how far we would get? Or try and get in touch with somebody who's legitimately wants to actually do this as a job?
I'm down for that. That'd be the best interview ever.
I mean, it's kind of a bit like you could start a YouTube channel where you're out there and it's like Bear Grylls, like over an extended period, you could like teach like how to
Oh,
survive.
It could end up something completely sinister. Bear Thrills.
It's going to be like the Blair Witch Project, isn't it? Because by the end of it, it's going to be you in a forest with this guy chasing you with an axe, and you're like, I can't do it. He knows, streaming with
Looking
snow.
like the Jumanji when he just came out the game, when he's like, what year is it?
Sky News are doing this just so they can get the article afterwards of man dies on island off of what after psychotic.
And then just one last question before I put a full stop on it. Like, how much would you have to be paid to actually do it? It's a real thing. This isn't hypothetical. How much would you need to be paid to do it?
Well, you sent this before, and I read it, and on the cursory glance I gave it, I assumed it was like this was like a bonus. We'll pay you an extra 11 quid on just to go there, on top of the £50 an hour we're paying you to do the actual job.
See, if you think about it, if you're there for 6 months and you're getting paid £11 an hour every day for 24 hours a day, then that's not bad.
That's true, but there's the fact that you are not going to be able to spend that money on the island, clearly, except on maybe a penthouse subscription to get over.
I mean, I'd do it if Deliveroo delivered. If there's a way of like getting Deliveroo there,
I guarantee there won't be.
like a drone that can fly over.
It's a KFC hanging off this thing.
I tell you what, why don't us four just volunteer to go in there?
I might apply. I might apply for a laugh.
Please do it, Adam, and then keep us updated on it.
Just be like, do you know Welsh? Nope, made up language. The Welsh language was invented by one dad cheating at Scrabble, and it got out of hand.
You got to admire the Welsh for pursuing the Welsh language. It's not used anywhere else in the world except for this one place.
All signs in Wales legally need to have the sign in English next to them.
Because no one else likes it. I love that one. It's the world's longest station name, isn't it? And it's like the English translation's like that long.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that whole thing of, no.
He said slough. That's what he said. Slough. Adam, what is your news?
My news. Bobby, oldest dog ever, loses title as investigation launched by Guinness World Records. While our review is ongoing, we have decided to temporarily pause, see what I've done there, both the record titles for oldest dog living and oldest dog ever, just until our findings are in place, awards a person thought Guinness World Records said. A canine that was named oldest dog ever has lost his title amid investigation into the animal's past. Bobby, who lived in Portugal and was said to have been 30 years and 268 days when he was named the world's oldest by Guinness World Records last February. In October 2023, he died at a reported age of 31 and 163 days, but doubts have now been raised over whether he really was the oldest canine ever. Despite his birth apparently being confirmed by the Portuguese government's pet database and the National Union of Veterinarians, Bobby was a purebred Racrio do Argento, a breed of livestock guardian dog with the average life expectancy of 12 to 14 years. Skeptics have asked why photos purportedly of Bobby in his youth would have shown him with white paws when they were brown in his later years, reported The Times. Guinness World Records has said that it is withdrawing his title until the investigation is complete.
He's a rigger.
This is, oh, wow. So, yeah, it turns out Bobby is a liar. He's a dog and a scoundrel.
I'll be honest with you, I'm glad he's dead. I'm glad he's dead.
Right? If that's the kind of dog he is, glad he's dead. Like the odds of a guardian dog living to more than twice the expected age of the breed are like slim to none, aren't they? And also, I love the fact that this is being investigated. Like, why? Like, of all the things happening in Portugal, I'm certain that's quite low on the list. Like, what must not be happening in Portugal for that to be a thing?
Tell me something that is happening in Portugal that's more important than a dog lying about the Guinness World Records.
And anything Ronaldo has done ever.
Ronaldo's sold these Portuguese heritage. He's off to the Middle East enjoying his money and his life. That's why we've got nothing to talk about.
Have they just like erased him from history? Have they just sort of like gone like Cristiano who? We do not know Cristiano Ronaldo. This is Portugal. Home of Bobby, 31-year-old dead dog.
Bobby the lying Guinness dog.
His paws magically changed colour.
Have any of you ever went for a world record?
I had some friends in Australia who actually got the record for the longest ever cricket match. It was like 24 hours or something stupid like that. It really wasn't that long. He was one of the guys who'd been out there for quite a while. He's Australia, so it was like, hot, sweaty. He said he got chafing in his arse crack, and his description was, it's like a cut watermelon.
Hi, and Duncan Casman ruining watermelon since 2024. Shandy, help me out. Get us out of this fucking mess. World record, what would you go for?
I think I've been part of one in the past where I had to dress up as a Peter Pan. I've been a part of something like that at some point. I think my memory serves me correctly, but I do have the memory of a goldfish. But if I had to do one, like my own Guinness World Record, I think it would be like something silly, like the Chuckle Brothers, like vehicle.
Yeah.
The little. I'd like cycle like the longest distance in one of those.
Nice. I can appreciate that.
Something that
no,
one.
No, let's go back. I want to go to this. I can't quite remember what the record was, but it was something to do with...
Yeah, exactly.
This sounds incredibly suspicious.
I can't remember if
Did you end up licking your brother's girlfriend's fingers whilst this was taking place?
Shut up. Okay.
No, I can't remember if I actually took part or if I just was observed and I was in the presence
You just happened to be randomly a Peter Pan costume.
So you just dressed like Peter Pan to watch a random world record that you may or may not have been a part of. One time I went to a strip club on the off chance there was a world record going on while I was there.
Actually, I'm not going to say it because I'm trying to say something.
Well, it turns out it was my crutchless Peter Pan outfit.
I don't know what the opposite of slow-mo is, Channy, but you just described it. I might have been involved. I don't know. Was it going on? Again, I don't know, but if it did go on, I was there for it.
He says that seems to be followed up with Your Honour.
There's shades of Michael Barrymore in the pool to this story. There's Michael Barrymore shades to this story. I wasn't there, but I was there, but I can't remember. But all I do know is I was in a pool when I was drunk.
Dandy 2024, I might have been there.
Shandy, tell us about your time that you wore tights and thought you could fly. Come on.
Oh, right, okay. So a local charity that I support and that's
not anymore.
No, right. So story time with Chandy. So when I was at uni, a charity that was part of like the Raise and Give events where like we'd all like dress up and stuff. That's a whole other story because we did like a fancy dress fundraiser in fancy dress, and I went as the house from Up, Eddie the Eagle, and Tinder. Those were my three fancy dress. But one of the charities we supported was doing like a fundraiser where everyone possible could come along to the seafront dressed as Peter Pan. So I went along, and I can't remember if I was in fancy dress or I was just there supporting those who were in fancy dress.
You're lying, Shandy. You know.
No. This whole thing's been explained by the words, it was while I was at uni.
Shandy, if I went to the seafront dressed as a famous fictional character that, I'll be honest, reads like he might be a paedophile, I would absolutely remember.
Were you trying to score with Tinkerbell? Is that what this was all about?
This has escalated beyond. Like...
it was actually John and Michael that it was after.
Is this why you invited me to be on this podcast? Just to, like, everything I say, like, pull apart with, like,
I'm going to Sandy. I don't know how we got on to this from a dead. From like we were talking 5 minutes ago. We were talking about a dead dog, and now here we are.
They're only called the Lost Boys when you can't find them.
Yeah, no, great addition, like great new segment. Didn't go off the rails at all. And yeah, we'll do this again next week and try and keep it on the rails. Like me, how do I get on from this? Speaking of colossal fuck ups, the post office. What kind of world do we live in where in order for the government to do something about what is rapidly becoming the biggest scandal and injustice in British history, when it takes a ITV drama to force the hand of politics into action, what kind of world does that mean we live in? So my questions are: A, have you seen the drama? B, do you remember the origins of this scandal and this entire fiasco? And where do you see this going? What do you think happens? What indeed can happen on something of this scale, this magnitude? Because I think this might be the end of the post office as we know it.
I've been following this. I haven't watched the actual TV show, but I've been following this on the interest of the fact that it's been going on for so long. But it took a TV show, like a drama, a dramatized version of events to highlight it. And then suddenly everything got solved in a matter of, a couple of weeks. And that's what's astounded me, is that once the spotlight was on it and people were interested, then it got solved. Until that point, it was like that. And people have died. People have committed suicide over this stuff. Like, it's horrific. What actually went on behind the scenes, what it did to people's lives, I think it's just horrendous. And then suddenly the spotlight gets shone on it by, like you say, an ITV dramatization. And suddenly the government, and I loved watching Ian Hislop and that politician trying to defend the government's stance. And Ian Hislop just slammed him. It was one of the best pieces of television I've ever seen.
It's amazing. It was on Robert Peston's show. Go check it out. It's just like a one man dismantling another man in front of the world.
I have seen this. I have seen it actually. I've seen a clip of it. But actually, I did watch the drama, and I thought the reason in it it was good because I think that the character, the actors like Will Mellor and all these other actors that played different people within it, you could tell that they were really invested in the person that were playing, and they wanted to portray them in it, and that they had really sort of taken their time with this, and they had told, because there's so much of this story that had to be told, and it was difficult to get it all out there. And actually, I was thinking that's proper television. That's what dramas should be made for. This is what dramas were invented for, so that it can evoke discussions and thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So hats off to ITV. It's really brilliant. But then also, Good Morning Britain have ran it since. Like, they've been running like a whole big segment about it every day ever since that drama broke. And what I think is going to happen is that what no one's sort of taking responsibility for it yet, whether it be the person, that lady that was the boss of the Royal Mail at the time, they've not really taken responsibility for it. The government are definitely not going to take responsibility for it. And Fujitsu, have just managed to sort of sail away for now and just not have to deal with anything. And what will happen is it's that classic case where they'll all just start blaming each other now. And what I think will happen, Adam, just to answer your question, is I think that unfortunately the people that are owed the money back and owed compensation and owed something in order to get their lives back, I think that they'll have to wait a long time.
Well, because Fujitsu were up for questioning the past couple of days. I haven't necessarily caught up on it all, but people knew that the software and the system had problems anyway, and it all just went unaddressed. And as soon as you could point the fingers very quickly at the staff, those are people who know nothing about the software went, oh yeah, no, the software is foolproof. And then it turns out they know nothing about the software. And just how quickly they pass the buck on to people with no recourse, none at all. and it was just a true obnoxious, like cruel abuse of power.
It was the line as well when at the beginning of the drama where people would phone up this Horizon company or whatever and phone up and tell them that there was a problem with the money and the figures weren't adding up, and they would say, well, we've not had a complaint from anybody else. It was that proper like, divide and conquer mentality, like if we just make out that they're the only problem, then this will go away. And then also the intimidation from the post office and the way they would send people round, basically mafia style them out the door. Like
Yeah.
everything about it just is massively, massively shady. And the thing is what's the name of the lady as well that was like the director of it all, the post office
Well,
lady?
she lost her CBE.
No,
Oh,
she handed it back voluntarily.
Well,
Voluntarily.
she handed it back, but she was given it in like
2019, I think.
It was
she,
Theresa
she was
May.
she was handed it back in 2019 when we already knew that it was shady.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it was Theresa May. I'm bored of failed prime ministers giving out awards to criminals. So bored of it.
And then also she was like, was she not like a
Like,
vicar? She's not a vicar as well, this lady. Was she not like
yeah. Well,
vicar?
she's certainly like of religious significance.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
did. She do sermons and stuff at the church as she was ripping people off, talking about moral stories and moral standpoints and what God thinks and whatever, and then she's ripping people off for millions. So
So Chandy, if this is the pattern, if the way to force the hand of government is to make ITV dramas about contentious topics, what should the next ITV drama be?
I think there's so much that we could talk about in the way things are changing and have changed and the impact of things. And I think it shouldn't need a documentary for the government, any government, whether it's this one or any future government, to take action on issues. The people that we elect need to realize that they have a lot of power and authority and need to listen. Like I understand, like life could be a roller coaster. Sorry to quote Ronan Keating there, but like life is a roller coaster. It's difficult at the best times for anyone, even if you're a politician. Life can be really tough and can throw curveballs and stuff. But I think for a documentary to be the reason why they then take action, like I remember that in Hislop debate with the politician, and he was like, "This has been going on for years and years and years, and you've always dismissed it, or you've pushed the boundaries of where you're going to intervene." And it's only because of this documentary that you've actually taken action, because you've seen the impact that it's had on society and the number of people who've come forward to say, well, actually, you've done wrong by not listening to these people. And I think that is an indictment of the government, whether it's this one and past ones, or whether it's the ones in the future. If the only reason they're willing to do anything is because a big media company might do a documentary or a TV show about them. I hope there's not another one, but
Or there might already be another one on that's already happening that we don't know about. I mean, I would do a documentary on the when the government got like Atos involved to assess disabled people's fitness to work. I think that caused a lot of this entire austerity thing. I would do something on because it's been 14 years of systematically scapegoating the disabled community, and not only systematically, disproportionately as well. And I think it's caused in the region of 170,000 preventable deaths. So I'd do something on that. Like Ken Loach's movie, I, Daniel Blake, did a bit to sort of highlight it and how cruel, unfair, and inhumane the austerity was. But I think now, particularly for the disabled community, who are almost criminalized now by our government, I think it's something to highlight that, and then force change would be incredibly welcomed and incredibly useful.
On that, I've got an example. A chap local to me who is my personal trainer for a while. He's limb different. He had his leg amputated, and he got denied his PIP on the basis that he was able to get around because he was using his crutches. It's not like his fucking leg grew back. This was just, no. And he needed an adapted car, and that wasn't allowed. So once he'd been taken off it, he had to give his car back, and he had to fight for it. It's like he's limb different. It's not like just because he's actually not letting his disability rule his life in that way, he got penalized. Obviously, my angle, I come from this whole thing of how many kids out there are undiagnosed for autism, ADHD, any neurodivergencies. How many parents are being blamed? Because that's the government default at the moment. That's the diagnostic default is, first of all, the parent gets blamed. It's your parenting, you suck. They're doing fine at school, hello, masking. So therefore the problem's at home. So much blame. And it takes, it took us 8 years to get Sienna diagnosed after being blamed, having social services involved, until it was finally, oh, okay, no, clearly, your daughter's autistic. Really, you don't fucking say. We've only been saying it for the last 8 years. I was reading an article the other day in the papers about a chap who'd got done because he'd been claiming DLA or PIP, and he got caught because he was doing work. And it's like one example, and what I said is it shows that the austerity measures are really working. It's the one story I've read of actually caught someone who was genuinely fiddling the system. How many other people are tarred with that same brush that just get labeled as benefit cheats because of
I live on up in constant fear that people are going to be like, well, you're not disabled, you do all these movies and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I can do both.
Yeah, exactly.
I can so you think I wake up at 4 a.m. every day and put this prosthetic makeup on? You fucking moron. The world is full of utter spanners, and it drives me insane.
Documentary wise, it's difficult because I feel like we're in a place right now where if we talk about work, there's so many different sections to this. So there's diagnosis, there's work, there's hate crimes, there's the government, there's the media, there's the TV industry, the film industry, like all this kind of stuff. Like it feels to me at the minute like disabled people at the moment are the last dog at the bowl. You can widen the scope as much as you like. So the documentary would just have to be about where are we really? That would be my title for it. Where are we? Because it feels like we've been dropped in a place that we just genuinely don't belong at the minute. And that's because every single thing is having to be fought for. For example, like you're talking about, Duncan, like people being diagnosed and being sort of given the right treatment in order to sort of be able to exist happily and independently and as freely as they like. And then you've got like people like myself and maybe Adam as well, maybe you as well, Shandy, like in terms of trying to get work in the media, like it's no longer about what you're good at anymore. So you're not getting picked. And this it might not be just a disability issue, but you don't get picked because you're good at doing your job. You get picked because you tick a box for being disabled. And that's fine. Sometimes that's okay. But then what it's having is like a real big effect on the way that we're treated elsewhere. So for example, there's the minister, there's not been a disability minister properly for about fucking 14 years. 13 years we've not had a proper representation in Parliament because that's how we're seen. And that's reflect that culture from the very top is being filtered down to other things. And that's genuinely what my documentary would be about. It'd be looking at where does the systematic sort of problems lie, and it always comes for the government first.
There's a sad lack of accountability from the top.
And I feel like sometimes, like when we talk about disability, like there's always that assumption, like when someone's disabled, like they don't necessarily have the ability to speak for themselves or have a voice. I remember when I was growing up and stuff, like I needed an advocate. I needed my family to stand in for me and voice my concerns because I didn't necessarily have the confidence to speak about it. But like I've learned like so much since I've turned 18, trying to be heard and not just seen, but actually acknowledged, and have doctors and healthcare professionals. And I remember when I left uni, the struggle to try and find a job, and I'd go to the job centre and I would feel so demoralized by that process because I felt like I've done so much to get a degree that I was told that I wouldn't get. And now I'm facing these barriers in terms of because I don't drive and because of my mental health might mean I need help at work and stuff. Those barriers were stopping me from getting employed. And I remember having a conversation with a friend, and their response was to Photoshop me into a photo of me sat on the beach and Photoshop it into an image of the job centre, and that like made me realise that sometimes people just they see your disability and they don't acknowledge life can still be spectacular and so amazing even though you're disabled. I live my life because I'm disabled. Like I've had so much to be thankful for because of it. And yeah, it's been in tough at times and like there's been days where I wish I didn't have it. But equally I wouldn't be here with you guys right now if it wasn't because of it.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Blue Monday. And one of the statistics that came out about Blue Monday is that this year alone, 1 in 4 people will be affected with mental health. This touches everyone. And I will say the biggest blessing in my life, because obviously I'm adjacent in all this, getting to know you guys, getting to know so many people in the neurodivergent industry. Look at Adam. You know, all of you guys except
There's some people that you're not happy to get to know.
Yeah, that's it. Some people prove that you can still be disabled and an arsehole.
Yeah.
But, you know.
He's not here. Leave him alone. You already made fun of him this episode. Like, I like you, Chris. I like you.
Oh, shut up. You're such a suck up, man. You make me sick.
Oh, because I'm disabled, I make you sick. Well.
I'm trying to make a fucking point here, Adam. Shut the hell up. So,
the reality is,
I've been part of that. I was thrust into this community, and what you start to see eventually, and I cringe at the person I used to be, but it's like I don't see disability anymore. I see a person, and I get to know the person. I don't see a wheelchair. I see a person, and it's taken me being thrust into this community to change that unconscious prejudice within myself. I think there's this easy thing that the media does, that the government does, which is to kind of paint this caricature of disability into this kind of, it's pity. It's so condescending. When did we stop losing sight of humanity and start placing everything into these convenient boxes?
It reinforces the idea of like a monolith.
Yeah.
That all kind of insert minority here are like the same. Like, you know, all gays like ABBA, or all disabled people are incapable. All Australians can cook steak really well. Kind of, you know, those.
Fair. That's a fair.
To be fair, actually,
generalization.
I love ABBA.
That's
that answers so many questions there, Mark.
It's a state thing, like a fair income statement.
Oh, absolutely.
The idea of like a monolith, and I think it's like really, really dangerous. And I've been doing like a lot of press training lately because I'm off doing my thing.
I love how you managed to self-plug and everything.
but all like the whole film is like sort of like breaking that monolith and sort of like having that sort of conversation. And it's one of those. It's the first time I've just been like the straight guy, like for the whole film. And so that's the kind of headspace I've been in. It's like breaking down that whole monolith and separating that kind of disability, inability dichotomy and getting it out of those like media tropes of victim, villain, and my least favorite, like the false hero.
Yeah.
I think like it's really important when you talk about disability, that inspiration porn element of it. Like disabled people can do amazing things and not necessarily be inspirational just because they've done that. Anyone can do that. And I think it's how you word it and how you approach the situation. I saw an article the other day that Spain's elected the first parliamentary minister with Down syndrome. And I'll read you one of the comments that I saw. It's actually a disgrace. You can't have someone with a mental disability in a parliamentary role over someone without a disability. All it's trying to show is that equality is as much as everyone wants it. You can't make it happen at the expense of an entire country and its people. Like that was just one of the comments I saw. And I think it just reiterates the fact as a disabled person you can do anything you want. You're not limited by your disability, and also society has a responsibility to acknowledge that you're disabled, but not treat you differently because you're disabled.
Yeah, I'm disabled, not incapable. And it's just like, oh, he's only got the job because he's disabled, which I get a lot. I'm like, that only works like the first gig. Sure, you can get like one gig as like presenting or acting because disabled, but then you're gonna rock up and do the job. And then once people know what your skill set is, you either become a liability or an asset and nothing in between.
When I look at every example of, like ethnic cleansing and stuff like that, eugenics of any description, you get this thing, and it is that people get put into this dehumanizing zone. When racism was rife, people of different cultures weren't seen as human beings. They were seen as black, Indian, they were seen as Asian, they were seen as whatever. It dehumanizes when you put that kind of label onto it. Same with the LGBTQ community. When back in the dark days, when you were painted as gay, that was your life over. And it was a way of tarring everyone with the same brush because it dehumanizes. And it's what governments who, dictatorships in the past have used. They use this kind of labeling of an entire community in order to eradicate them. And I feel like that's what happens with disability. It's what's happened with, things in the past that we've moved forward from. But this last glaring, obvious area is disability, because it's so much easier just to paint oh well, it's disabled community, isn't it, and therefore no longer human.
Yeah.
And the other one, I think the homeless probably experience the same thing. You get that thing of, I often watch these things and you see like police procedurals, and they'll interview someone who's homeless, and you think it's kind of jarring at first because they're just having a conversation with a homeless person, because you're so used to seeing it as this dehumanized, they're less than because they're homeless.
Yeah.
You forget that there's this humanity behind it. We've lost, we constantly, as the human race, we lose touch with humanity. And when we lose touch with the humanity, that's where evil creeps in my opinion.
I would agree with that opinion. Speaking of humanity, Martin, what do you think?
Oh, jeez. Just giving you what I think.
You're a journalist. Come on, speak up.
What I think, I've just told you what I think. Basically, is that I feel like it's a real sort of, it comes from the top, and I experience it every day in different ways. And Chandy's absolutely right. Like I'm very grateful to be a disabled person in my life. I don't ever wake up. I've never woke up for a long time and wished that I've never had my disability. I don't. I'm lucky enough not to be in that, and I feel for anybody who is in that position. But what I would say is that every day is a battle, because I was always brought up with the attitude where you not only have to be good at something, but because of your disability, you're going to have to be better than everybody else at what you do. Because
I get that.
So not only, and I'm not saying that I'm better than everybody else, but one thing that I will say is that my mindset and what I feel like I had to do in order just to get to the same level as everybody else has been really, really difficult. So now I've got to that stage, and I've covered sporting events. I've been all over the world and covered stories all over the world, from islands in the South Pacific to Brazil to Australia, and I feel like I'm still. I sat there and I had a thought in myself the other day, and I said, it's really weird. I got my job at Newsround at the BBC and with Channel 4 at the Paralympic Games like 13 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And I think I'm still pretty much in the same position now as what I was then, because I'm still having to fight all the time just to get, even though my experience and my CV and my showreel shows you everything that I've got to do, I'm still in that position. And then you sit there and you question yourself, don't you? You think to yourself, is it because I've not done the right things? And that might be the case. That might be the case. But also, the interactions that you have with TV execs, or the interaction that you have with the audience, or interactions that you have with people on social media, all play a part in how we interact with people day to day as well. It does get to a point sometimes, I don't know about you, whether you just feel like going, fuck it. Why don't we just become what they expect us to become and just sit at home all day and just not fucking bother with us? Like, that's where I find myself sometimes. But then I remember, no, because, I've got mouths to feed. That's how the society impacts me day to day, really. But I use sport, I use my rugby league team, I use you guys, I use my pals, I use my rugby, I use my sport, I use comedy, I use all sorts of stuff just to make, and my family as well, in order just to sort of remember, like, actually there's good things going on as well.
I get the whole narrative of having to be twice as good to get half the amount of respect. I'm at the point now where I'm done like begging execs to work, and I'm done like groveling through it, and I'm just telling it how it is. And like, no matter who you sign, they won't be as good as me. So
Yeah.
you can either cut the crap and you can hire me, or you can hire someone else and regret it later. Because there will be mistakes made, and I'll be the first to point them out. And you'll be like, oh, we should have probably hired Adam. And I'll go, yes, yes, you should.
I want to hear from our audience. Like, if you guys have experienced, if you've got thoughts on this, I reckon stick it in the comments. The other thing is that obviously we're partnered with the Disability Expo, and I've got to say, last year's Expo was such a great example of how disability shouldn't be this boxed thing. It was just a fantastic event of lots of people coming from all different walks of life, all different disabilities, all different abilities, all different neurotypes, and it was a real celebration. So it's on again this year. Go check out the details. We'll put the links in the description. But Disability Expo, fabulous partners to the Grumpy Gits. Go check it out.
To lighten the mood a little bit, gentlemen, this Saturday just gone saw the return of possibly the greatest Saturday night TV show ever made on the BBC, Gladiators. Oh my God, Chandy, I was expecting the worst and I got the best. Wasn't it amazing?
It was so good. I was sat there like, I could do that. I could do that. And then there was the challenge where they had them on the podiums and they had like the big I like to think of them like earbuds, but on like steroids.
Yeah.
They're like expanded out.
Yeah.
Like
the fusion sticks.
The gladiator just like tapped him and he just fell off. And I went, yeah, maybe I couldn't do it. Maybe.
Can I ask a question? Was John Anderson still there?
No, it's this retired football referee whose name I forget. And I've deliberately forgotten it because 8 years ago he screwed Crystal Palace out of the FA Cup in the final. So fuck him. I hope he gets injured. I hope the ref
I
gets
just
injured.
remember John Anderson when I was growing up, like, you will go on my first whistle. Contender, you will go on my second whistle. Iconic. I never watched it, right? So I will watch it. I'll watch it, put it in record. But was it what I remember in my head is like a 10-year-old watching it? Do you think it was the same, Adam, as what I'll remember, or has it got like some slight differences?
So there's some slight differences. It's hosted by Bradley Walsh and Barney Walsh. I think they need a female presenter, and I'm not entirely sold on Barney Walsh. He's probably a great guy, and if you're watching this, hey, no beef, bro. But as a presenter, he's a bit like an apprentice mechanic who's only just seen a spanner for the first time. And I think compared to his dad, who's like a consummate pro, he feels a little bit like a fish out of water.
And what about the gladiators themselves?
Oh, love them. They've all got their distinct characters. Zyper is the new wolf who cheats and gets in the referee's face, and he always takes things that little bit too far. They're all supreme. They're all already athletes in their own right, but not to the point where it like feels unfair, and that then they're not sort of like unbeatable. Like one of the contenders this Saturday could have gotten 10 points on hang tough, but decided to play silly buggers and mess around. And I reckon that might have cost him the actual show, because spoiler alert, he lost. But no, I love it. They captured the feel of the original 90s show, because we don't talk about the 2008 Sky One version at all. No, they've captured it so well. So happy. Chandy, talk to me, my brother.
I think the contestant who got to the other side of the hanging ropes and was about to get the 10 points and then decided I could take on the gladiator and then started swinging back around to go back and waste time. I thought, you've done all the hard work. You've got to the other side. Just get off and relax. Enjoy the 5 minutes of freedom for
There's
the next
too
challenge.
much showboating in this stuff. We've been watching on Netflix. There's this show called The Beastmaster, which is kind of like a very, very similar thing. It's, you conquer the beast. It's an obstacle course type thing. But it is kind of like you see these guys get up there and they do these big poses, and they're always the ones who fuck up in the first 30 seconds and have some colossal face plant into a padded wall or something like that. It's like there's something about this like lack of humility that instantly leads to the fall. And I think Gladiators is the same with that. If you're going to start showing off, you got to back it up with something. Otherwise, you just look like a twat.
It's good as well that the show's got the first contestant who's deaf, with Fury, and I think Jodie who is Fury, she did really well, like in terms of the whole show just did really well in terms of like representation and
Yeah.
showing people for who they are and not
I'm
like
liking this shift. I was watching Survivor, the new series, obviously the rebirth is
Peg
Pegleg, man. That guy was an absolute legend. But what I loved is that they didn't. The first episode, he talks about the fact that he's an amputee and he's got a prosthetic, and that was it. And occasionally he mentioned the fact that I've got to make sure this sand doesn't get into my prosthetic.
Let's not miss out the crucial part as well, is that he changed his name by default to
By default to Pegleg.
Yeah.
Fucking legend. But what I loved is that he just got on with it. And every time we're watching it was like, every physical challenge seemed to be saying, it seemed to be picked against him, to be honest. It was like balance here, or you had to, there were so many physical challenges, but he never, ever went, oh, well, it's because of my leg, obviously. And no one ever drew attention to it. It was what representation should be to me, which was that, we've got this guy on, it's Pegleg. And that was it. It wasn't, it's Pegleg who's our token disabled.
I want him to get to the final. I want him to get to the final, and I want the final challenge just him and whoever to be sitting there, and the opening envelope, and it says, "The final challenge for £1 million, rip your leg off."
Easiest million ever.
Yeah, right.
Easiest million ever.
without this sounding too much like a TV show like review podcast. I don't know if you've seen the latest season of Echo on Disney Plus.
Yes, it's amazing.
So Marvel have had a tough run in the last couple of years, and they've got like superhero fatigue, and like apart from like Spider-Man and some of the other like high budget films, I think they're waiting for Deadpool to come out and for it to be the big success that everyone's waiting for.
Because Ryan Reynolds saves everything.
Echo has been like it's been amazing. Like they use sign language in like 80% of the show, and there's subtitles. It's accessible. I have to look away when there's the gory bits and stuff because like I don't do well with that.
Oh, you pussy.
Like it is genuinely like it shows the badass side of the superhero world, but in a way that doesn't showcase disability as like the evil villain. Echo's actually given a platform to disabled heroes that actually can make a massive difference.
No, I think we're heading in a good place for representation in sort of like, particularly the entertainment space.
Well, Traitors is a good example as well. Traitors this year, they've got a woman who's got a stoma. There's a couple of people on there that are disabled in every way, but it really hasn't been.
That guy that got voted off last week. Well, last week with the one leg, the ex-army.
That's why evening viewing stopped. Cheers, Martin.
You spoiled Gladiators earlier on for me when you told me what had happened.
Have you watched Taskmaster with Lenny Rushin?
No, do not. I swear to Jesus, if one of you ruins that for me, I'm done. I'm out. I'm done. I'll be on stage in front of 2,500 people with a live mic on Sunday. At your peril, does one of you spoil Taskmaster?
Worst I had was it was like literally the day before I saw The Force Awakens, and somebody posted on social media a picture of somebody's car where they had in the back window written Kylo Ren kills Han Solo, and I was just no. So I had to sit through the whole film knowing that at this point this happens. I was just gutted.
I don't do it anymore because the angriest the internet has ever been at me, and this was years ago.
And let's face it, the internet's been angry at you for a lot, Adam.
But back in the day when like social media was like new, trolling was an art form. Trolling was like satire, rather than just like yelling at minorities and swearing. It was an actual thing, and it was episode 1 of season 7 of The Walking Dead, and I changed all my profile photos and all my social media to Jacob and Ethan die. You're welcome. and just left there.
Oh,
You bastard.
This is why I have trust issues, Adam. People like you.
uh,
There's those who like talk through films.
Don't do that.
There's certain films that like
don't do that.
we expect people to know the ending to or what happens. Yeah, we started this conversation with the budget version of Ratatouille, and the rat that wants to, was it a rat?
Mouse.
That's like the budget remake of Ratatouille in real life. We know how films go sometimes. You can tell, but like ruining films and ruining the outcome. I accidentally did it sometimes. Like I ruined the Taskmaster episode for someone at work. Not my fault. I thought they'd seen it.
It sounds a lot like it was your fault.
The Naked Gun. The film The Naked Gun. I used to love that film, but one of the things in there was in the credits at the end. You have to look at it, but as the credits are rolling, it just says "Secret of the Crying Game." She's a dude. It just keeps scrolling by. Now that's trolling in the art form world.
I once told a friend of mine that in the movie Platoon, at the end, they all get buggered by hillbillies. They don't. They all go to Vietnam and don't have fun. Though, I will say, when you watch the film Platoon and you're waiting for hillbillies to run out the woods and bugger them all, it changes the film.
Because we all want to see that happen to Charlie Sheen.
It's 2.5 hours long. At least let me make it interesting. Well, gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another episode. But before we go, in the spirit of entertainment, TV and game shows, which of these answers has the higher number? So have more people, A, walked on the moon, or B, won Takeshi's Castle?
Walked on the moon.
One Takeshi's Castle.
And Candy.
Takeshi's Castle.
Well, I can reveal that more people have indeed walked on the moon than won Takeshi's Castle.
I have never seen anyone win Takeshi's Castle.
People that are just on it, win it, like it's a win just to be on it.
Not how winning works, Martin. And as a commentator, I'm surprised you think that. Anyway, that is a wrap. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like and smash that subscribe. Help us out a lot. Join us online. It's all in the show notes. If you have a story in the news that you'd like us to discuss, bring it on over to us and we'll be sure to feature it next episode. So from me, Adam Pearson, from him, Duncan Casburn, from him, Chandy's second name, and from him, Martin Dugan, we will see you all next time. And as always, don't be grumpy alone. Mwah.